Hey everybody, I am back with some surprising, surprising, not so surprising news that just popped up, probably early this morning, my time, about Disney Star Wars The Acolyte being canceled. Before we continue, please follow me in the links in the description below. I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts are. And I just had to talk about this because it's like, I had a feeling, wasn't sure, but I had a feeling they was going to just drop this wholesale. I recently, not too recently, but I put out like after it was right after the finale uh, of the Acolyte was wrapped up that I posted a video about like the Star Wars shows as a collective ever since the season one of The Mandalorian all the way up to The Acolyte. All the TV shows as a collective and all the ones that I generally personally liked that some might argue was still like so and the ones that collectively we should all agree that it was just terrible. And it's it's not surprising that they canceled this series. And I argue that we should not even be bothered to canonize this because this isn't Star Wars. This is something that Leslie Headland, you know, her own fanfic altogether that can't even be quantified. She wanted to do something, clearly something else, and then slap Star Wars on it. She shouldn't have even been getting the reins to do something like this because she missed the mark completely. And Kathleen Kennedy, she's been talking about like, she's 70 years old, she should be retiring right now. And it's like, I'm not gonna go until like we make a successful show. Well, you're gonna be waiting for a mighty long time because you have been dropping the ball massively. And whoever you got in your circle is just probably a bunch of yes men. And honestly, Bob Iger really need to put on his big boy pants and like talk to the shareholders, talk to whoever he has to associate with his peer group, because I don't think he has like a boss. I think he's like the boss. But if he does, they need to come together. It's like, okay, we need to do something about Kathleen Kennedy. Like we need to just buy her out because we're losing a lot of revenue. Like, we're not getting a return on investment because we putting all this money into stinkers. Now, there's people on Twitter/X talking about like, well, like the misogynist and the bigots won and everything like that. It's like, look, I'm not going to ignore the fact that there are a select group of idiots out there who just hating just to hate. I'm not going to ignore the fact about that, but I follow, very reasonable people who isn't deemed, don't know them personally, but I've followed them for a mighty long time, who are sensible people who can acknowledge something that's good with, that has some, bad stuff mixed in, and they can just generally be honest and not shilling and say like, okay, this actually did not work. And it doesn't make them any type of ist or phobes when they point out something that's, like realistically bad. And it has, and then you're, going on social media and just like, I argue, dying on a hill you don't need to die on for a show that, because honestly, like I watched stinkers before, in all honesty, and I mentioned before, when it comes to a new show, the general rule of thumb: watch the first 3 episodes. By that time, that's more than long enough to see like if you want to be on board or they catch your eye. One of the two. But after the third season, like as I mentioned in my short little review that I did of the Acolyte, because it was so terrible, I could not continue. It was that bad. And this is coming from a guy who watched the entire series of Iron Fist, mind you. I watched both full seasons of Iron Fist. And throughout those 2 seasons, there's only maybe a couple of good episodes, in my opinion. But even I wouldn't be going the back like, renew Iron Fist, bring back season 3. It's like, do it. Like, the haters won. And like, I'm not going to do that because like I can still acknowledge the fact that it's a terrible show. It wasn't done well. And didn't bring it back, understandably. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be, now they bring back, Mike Coulter, Luke Cage, and Charlie Cox, Daredevil, and Kristen Ritter's Jessica Jones back to the MCU. I wouldn't be too upset if they recasted Finn Jones and got a brand new Iron Fist altogether. Because that dude, just didn't want to be bothered to actually learn some martial arts in a martial arts show for a character who is an expert in martial arts. But it just, like, what? It makes no sense for you to shill for a show that is like, I understand for certain reviewers who actually get backstage access to in Disney, Star Wars, and get all these loot boxes and all this other stuff. And of course, it makes sense for them to shill because they can only give because I argue that a few of them, not all, but a few of them actually just say or pull whatever positive message they can pull out of their butts to put out there and make any type of excuse they can for a show that can be deemed generally bad because they can get, future access, which is not good on both ends by the company or the reviewer, where it's like you should want somebody give an honest opinion because that's just generally a humbling thing. Someone pointed out that even with like Madam Web, Sydney Sweeney and Dakota Johnson were surprisingly and refreshingly honest about we kind of made crap. It happens. And that's what, instead of making some stupid diss track that has you weirdly twerking and trying to, circumvent right before the pilot even drops, trying to circumvent, trying to, undercut any potential hate that your show's going to get because he's going to put out crap. It's just like you're only increasing more people to crap on you. And it's like, it's the same thing with the whole situation with She-Hulk, where it's like you're making like a show just to mock incels, quote unquote. You're trying to make those people who having to give not so nice reviews and making them seem like they're misogynist and us. Not to say that there aren't those out there in the world, but they ain't the collective whole. You literally, because it's just like your guys is the people behind Disney and Marvel. At least Marvel is doing some kind of okay, let's pull back, get our ducks in a row first, because we're hemorrhaging money at this point, and we need to refocus here, because we're just throwing the crap out there without it, you know, like I said, getting the ducks in a row before we start announcing stuff. Make sure we, on the same page here. Lucasfilm is not doing that. Maybe right now they're going to consider doing that because it took putting out something this terrible to actually like, okay, we need to rethink some things because like this is like horrible. Okay. And of course, it's a business. They want to, like the corporate overlords need to make money. Sure, understandably. But you also need to balance out the fact that you need the creatives and the directors who want to generally make good material. They want to make art, essentially. Movies and TV shows are art. And, Deadpool and Wolverine is like a wonderful example of the directors and the writers getting involved to understand like this is the and got actual love and respect for the character and the character's fan base who understands who Deadpool is, how he acts, where he carries himself, his mindset, his morals, everything that's about this character. You do not want to veer off too far. There's a core to this character, and of course there's branches where you can take it. Of course, Deadpool in the movies ain't the same as the Deadpool in the comics, but they come from the same branch or the same trunk, essentially. You can't veer off the reservation. Like I keep using the example of like the Velma TV show. That's not Scooby-Doo. That's a whole nother show that you slap Scooby-Doo on just to greenlit a thing that it wasn't going to get greenlit otherwise. So you attach it to something that has an IP and set fan base, and you have no respect for this particular IP nor the fans of this IP, and got the nerve to call them bigots or whatever because they choose or at least have the nerve to point out this is messed up, this isn't right, this isn't Scooby-Doo. And bring it back to Acolyte, this isn't Star Wars. You have no reverence for what George Lucas started. You're trying to retroactively overwrite what he did, what he set up. And you can't, call if you make you make something like Andor that was very well written, very well shot, very well directed, and got great, ensemble cast. And mind you, diverse. And not diverse in like a hollow sense, because that's what Acolyte is. This is like, any reasonable person, wherever difference of opinion we might have with another person, anybody with a reasonable mindset can agree that inclusion, yes, in general, is a good thing. Of course, we would love people of color in more movies and TV shows and in the comics and, whatever. Of course, we would love that. That is a very nice thing to do. But if you're just doing it just to do it without any substance, then it's a hollow victory. And then people are going to criticize. And when they criticize about a hollow character, they just, there for them to be gay and nothing else, then you can't piss and moan when they call you out on it. You can't get mad when they call you out. The fact that you're the ones that actually brought it up, like on these red carpets and press junkets, first female this and first queer person that, and first, this thing and first that thing, and and you're touting it all up, and the Force is female. It's like females wasn't watching Star Wars in the first place. You act like that is just erased from your mind or something like that. It's what are you doing? It's you look at somebody like Rogue One. I don't ever recall on any of the press junkets or red carpets of the lady who plays crap. I keep calling her Stardust because that's her little pet nickname from her father. But when that actress was on the red carpet, there was not. I don't recall anybody actually going out there and saying like, "Oh, first female that lead a Star Wars movie" or anything like that. No, it was none of that stuff. And she was a very well written character. The short time we have with her in that movie, she was very well done. I really like that character. Uh, uh, but it's just like you got to like slow your roll with this whole like DEI inclusion thing. Okay, you're taking it too so far where the fact that it's just like you're doing it because it looks good on paper. It gives everybody, hey, look at us. Give us a pat on the back. Give us a cookie because we put like a woman in this. It's like, so what? Like, didn't George Lucas at the Cannes Film Festival earlier this year mention about how like you can't just put a woman in pants and say she's a hero. Like Princess Leia was already the hero of the original trilogy. Mothma is already a hero in her own right. She doesn't need to go above and beyond making herself like this ultra feminist, boss girl badass and like, go to the nines about it. It's just like she's these two very feminine women and just had a role to play and acknowledge the fact that other guys have roles to play. And it's fine that, like Andor, because a nice ensemble cast, didn't tout it up like I don't know what nationality he got to be a Hispanic of origin of the guy who plays Andor. There was no like first Hispanic male lead in this Star Wars show. None of that stuff. You let the material speak for itself, and word of mouth would make others come flocking to your show because you made something of substance. Like, we all love Storm from the X-Men. We all love that character. No matter what side of the political aisle you might be on, generally people love Storm. There's no like every time we have like a X-Men movie or show, there's no first, black leader of the X-Men who's female. It's like, it's none of that crap. Just let the character that's well written actions show why this character is respected and loved. There's substance to her outside of the fact of her gender or her race. And that's where Acolyte mixed the mark. And I'm not surprised they got canceled because you spent so much time trying to just hire all these activists and just people with agendas and all this other stuff that's like just all hollow. And it's like, ignoring the fact that you got like some actor on these press junkets confusing Anakin Skywalker with Luke, who blew up the Death Star. Clearly, you're not just saying like you need everybody to be fans of Star Wars to hire them. You don't need all that stuff, but at the very least, bare minimum, have them like they should have at least seen like the original trilogy just to get a general sense of it. You don't need to like see every little movie or TV show and read every comic book or novel in existence of Star Wars, but you should have like a good foundation that you have reverence for this material, so you can come to it with a general sense of respect. It's like even with like what's the guy's name who plays Boba Fett? I'm blanking on his name. what's his name? Tamir Morrison. Yeah, when he was doing his own TV show, he generally has love for this character, and just like Judge Dredd, or at least that Dredd movie that was like a remake or reboot or something like that of the Stallone Judge Dredd thing. Carl Urban understood the character so much he wanted to make sure, like in the comics, you do not see this character's face. You do not see his face. He let his voice and mannerisms carry, and this is not an easy thing as an actor, carry the weight and the substance of the character, and you get it through the expressions he does physically, rather than you see like through the entire face. Even with the jawline, you can just get a feel of this character. That's the mark of a great actor. And Tamir Morrison wanted to do something very similar with Boba Fett, where he didn't want to take off his mask at all. There's a lot of things he wanted to do, but the higher ups, vetoed against a lot of what he wanted to do for this character. And this is his character. And it's like with, I wish he had that. He should, but I wish he had the same kind of pull Ryan Reynolds has with Deadpool, where it's like, no, this is my character at this point now. I made this character flourish. So I get to decide how this character should move. But unfortunately, he got, vetoed ultimately. And so that's where a lot of mistakes was made in the Book of Boba Fett. And then, then the whole situation, because right now there's like the whole Mandalorian Grogu thing. Tamir Morrison doesn't want to show up again as Boba Fett. And a lot of people say like they don't blame him because the way that, they treated that character. Ultimately, what was that character's goal in the Book of Boba Fett, where he just wanted to be like a good kingpin of crime or something like that, with these Power Rangers on speeder bikes, and then with this, Grogu and Mandalorian movie, it's like the story was done with this character by the end of season 2, and he just like, you're milking a dead cow by season 3, where it's like, what is it left to talk about this these two characters? And then you got the Skeleton Crew, which is look like I see some substance with Skeleton Crew, where it's just basically the Goonies, or if you're a Gen Z person, Stranger Things in Star Wars. But hopefully, some people hope that maybe Jude Law will bring more people in. So I don't know. I saw the trailer. It's like, I see something. I'll check it out, because I do love the Star Wars franchise. I just wish they, get their ducks in a row before they start announcing anything. Whether it's come to the title of the show or the movie, or the who's involved, like the actors, and the director, anybody, before they make any type of announcement, know what you're doing, in terms of building this puzzle piece. Know what you're doing before you're absolutely ready to announce anything. And then with the Rey movie, I'm not sure. Hopefully, maybe after this whole situation with Acolyte, they can like take a step back, talk with Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni need to pull up his big boy pants and actually like, listen, I was pretty much the apprentice to, no pun intended, to George Lucas. He told me what I need to know. So, look, I'm pretty much the Kevin Feige of Star Wars right now. We need to do this, that, and the third. Screw this whole DEI thing. We're hiring people on their merit, when it comes to the writers, directors, whatever. We want to make some good material here. If they happen to be black or they happen to be gay or non-binary, whatever, if they, put in a good performance or a good writing material, then yeah, we'll bring them on. But I don't care what color they are. I don't care what sex they are. I don't care about any of that stuff. Leave that stuff at the door. We're here to make a good project. And like any project, we need people all on the same page. We need to know who's going to be doing what. And we need to all bring in our A game. None of the extra stuff. And it's like, yeah, and once it's a success, all those haters or bigots, they can be haters and bigots all they want. But if you put out some good material like Andor, then they have nothing to feed off of. You're not giving them ammo. No, once Andor came out, there was no, the director of, unlike Helen, the director of Andor never had to explain himself about anything he, after every episode, there was no explaining or confusion from the fan base. So it's like, this is not my Star Wars. There was none of that. Because they were confident and knew what they wanted to do and had some confident people behind the scenes making sure everything's in order and it didn't piss off the core fans. I'm sorry. When Star Wars, was first created, it was, it's like a father and son story. So generally it was like a male-centered kind of thing, just like any other action movie. If girls happen to love it, great. More the merrier. Come in. Enjoy this material. It's like, reasonable Star Wars fans would love to have people who generally love the original cast and like the original stories and everything like that and grew up on this stuff and generally love it. More the merrier. Come on board. But don't be a fake fan and just coming in on the back end. It's like these people who crying out for the Acolyte to get a second season, knowing full well that it's crap, and you're not really honest with yourself, because full well if you have a brain and you're processing it and actually watch this show, then you can generally say yeah, it didn't work, it's probably a good idea. And there was some people on Twitter pointing out some oh well, people who happy for this to be canceled, you wouldn't say that it was something that you love. There's people who love Firefly, but it got canceled at the first season. Buffy had a very rough first season, but that wasn't attached to an original IP. That's the major difference between Acolyte and Buffy, because Buffy came out from a movie. The Buffy TV show spun out from the movie. Acolyte is an ensemble piece. Started from one guy back in the 70s that you're just adding to. You're not trying to overhaul the entire thing, which when I'm watching this and hearing what's going on behind the scenes with the show, clearly they was trying to overhaul the entire thing instead of respecting what came before them. Say what you will with Marvel and in recent phases and stuff like that, they wasn't trying to completely overhaul everything that Jon Favreau started. Oh, Iron Man's lame. Oh, typical white male, patriarchy. I could make it a better version of an Iron Man story and blah blah blah. It's no, respect what came before. He started this whole entire thing along with Kevin Feige and stuff like that. You're just adding to the major puzzle piece of this amazing art here. And Helen, Kathleen Kennedy, I'm sorry, and I hate to be that person, but I got to acknowledge the fact that you guys got to step down. You gotta make some indie movies or something, so that way you can make whatever you kind of thing that you want. Talking about two women in love and whatever you want. I ain't saying like you should be blackballed from Hollywood or anything like that. I'm not saying that. Clearly, you want to do something else, but you should not be involved in an IP that has an already set foundation and fan base that spans over 40 plus years. Uh, and just get some new people who understand this material and get like a console so everybody can talk amongst each other. It's like, okay, you guys can work on this. What you're doing over here in Andor, okay, I'm working on something with Ray. How we can line this up in some way. We can hire some people who actually is good at their job and not necessarily need to know Star Wars through and through, but understand the material somewhat, like if they grew up with the original trilogy or the original trilogy plus the prequels or whatever. They know and have some reverence for this material, so they're going to respect it and not try to veer off course to do their own little thing. It's like, by and large, the fan base isn't for any types of phobes or is. They love this material and they just want it to be respected. And the Acolyte was none of that. It was like had horrible writing. I don't really just quit on a show, but the writing was so atrocious that I just could not power through after the third episode. I gave up. It was nonsense. And there was friends of mine who are bigger Star Wars fans than me that really could not stand the show. And they quit after the second episode. It's like, I thought I can just power through it. I powered through Iron Fist. It's like, if I could get through Iron Fist, I can get through almost anything. But it's like, God, it was that bad. It was that bad. The show Acolyte is not good. And people should not shield for things. It's okay if you generally like the show. It's okay to like it. Okay, it's like, I have crappy shows that I generally like. I have crappy movies I generally like. It's like, Batman and Robin, I generally like that. But I can still acknowledge and admit that it's crap. And I'm not going to die on the heels oh, people who hate on, Batman and Robin is clearly a misogynist because they hate Poison Ivy and Batgirl. It's like I'm not going to do that. Because that would be generally a wrong thing to do. And I'll be completely delusional if I go around touting out, people who hate on Batman and Robin just clearly hate, female villains, and it's like that'll be nonsensical. So why would you go around dying on the hill of a show that is generally bad, and it has the right to be canceled? It happens. It's not going to be the end of the world, and you can take this as a lesson. Hopefully Hollywood doesn't learn, or Disney doesn't learn the wrong lessons here. But it's just, okay, where we went wrong with this, how can we rejigger everything and come back fresh? And we still got time to work on Skeleton Crew and the Rey. And it's like, okay, in the Rey movie, okay, how can we kind of course correct before this stuff comes out? So when it comes out, people will generally enjoy it. That it should be the mindset. And enough, this whole Force is female, or first female color, or first this and that, and leave that at the door. If you want to talk about that stuff, do that with these indie movies or something like that. Just make a good Star Wars project within the world of Star Wars. If Star Wars Visions can do this, and then the Tales of the Jedi can simply just do this, because they had clearly many types of people, a lot of female characters involved. I remember quite a few episodes of Tales of, Star Wars Visions, since had a lot of characters with female leads, or at least a group of people, half of them are female, or different alien races, or males or females, people of different colors. Races or whatever like that. They done that in Visions. Not one person, you know, cried foul or is saying like, "Oh, this is not my Star Wars." Nobody ever said that. So clearly, it's, you know, like you're the problem with touting this stuff and try to like, you know, make this hollow gesture with like, making it about race. You're making it about race. Just make a good Star Wars movie or make a good Star Wars show, and the fans will come. The true fans will come. If anybody else who is just like a casual watcher of Star Wars, they will come and enjoy this too. Whereas man or woman, doesn't matter. Everybody's welcome, but don't like just admit when it's something is bad. Just okay, it's bad. Or if it's like you still like it, but you acknowledge bad elements, it's okay to admit that. But that's just pretty much, you know, my thoughts on it. It's just like there's been good Star Wars material, like I mentioned, like Star Wars Visions, Tales of the Jedi, Clone Wars, Acolyte. There's even some elements in Kenobi I enjoyed, but I acknowledge the fact that by and large, it, you know, wasn't all that good because once again, they wasn't, you know, nobody behind the scenes was like talking amongst each other and getting their ducks in a row because Leia didn't really need to be involved in a show that's supposed to have been like a rematch essentially between Kenobi and Vader or Anakin or whatever. It's just, you got to, you know, take a step back and course correct, let some people go and bring in some people that are good at their jobs, so that way you can put out some proper material. Because I love this franchise. And as a black man, person of color, I acknowledge the fact that just because you put on like a black person on a show and just their job is just being black, doesn't make it like, oh, doesn't mean I'm going to clap like a seal like, oh my God, best Star Wars ever. Good for you. It's like, you know, I'm not going to do that. It's like, okay, you got Forrest Whitaker on here. Okay, I like him. He's done good work before, but let's see what he does with this material. Oh, wow, Saw Gerrera is actually a fun character. It's like, you know, I don't agree with a lot of what stuff Saw Gerrera does, but he's a very enticing character and very well written. But I'm not going to say that because he's happened to be black. I'm saying that because the material that you provided this character mesh well in the overall ensemble of the Star Wars lore. And that's what people, where you're female, non-binary, whatever, you have to also equally acknowledge that when somebody's trying to represent whatever community that you belong to, you can say, look, I'm a person of the LGBTQ plus community. I'm still not going to acknowledge the fact that this is a quality show because you happen to have a gay person on there. I'm not going to say that it's going to be good just because of that. It's crap. Say that. And say it with your chest. The same with people who see it as non-binary. They can see that the actress who plays Amanda Stenberg, who plays May and Osha, you can say with your chest and acknowledge the fact that, yeah, this character sucks. Sorry. She got one facial expression. As an actor, you should know how to emote in various different ways depending on the scene and the circumstances. It's terrible. Sorry. But anyway, that's all I got to say. Let me know what you guys think. Be civil. Just give your overall thoughts. If you happen to just like it, that's cool. But you can explain why you like it. But, you know, just please don't be like a, you know, like a, what's the word? Don't be stubborn just for the sake of being stubborn. Just acknowledge the fact that, yeah, I like it, but this. But I hate it, but this. I mean, even, look, I'll give you one olive branch here. The scene with, like, the actress who's like X-23 who's on the cast, she was, you know, an amazing, like, she was great. She was a great, her lightsaber fight was amazing. The actor who was from Squid Games, I'm blanking on his name, by and large, he was the only, good actor in this entire show. And I love his performance because he actually was given a legit performance. So those two things I actually really dug out of this show. If I can, give you any type of good thing that I got out of this show, those were the two. So there's my olive branch to you guys, who actually do genuinely like this show. But anyway, I will see you guys in a little bit. I'll get back to some more Black Myth Wukong. So far I'm enjoying it, but it's only played like an hour or so of it. So I want to really get really into it. So look forward to that in a little bit. Follow me in links in the description below. I am Carl, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.